You've probably sat in a presentation before and looked up at slide decks and thought, oh my God, what am I looking at? What is the takeaway here? Why is there so much information? You sit there and you just want to pull your hair out. You want to run away.
No, God, please, no!
Now, in my experience, many people know that they don't want to be that person, but they often end up being that person because they don't know how to avoid the pitfalls of creating those boring presentations. So today I want to give you 3 pitfalls to avoid when you're making presentations. 1 is pretty slide syndrome, 2 is information soup, and 3, fluffy language. So I'm gonna go through each of these, give you examples, and show you how to avoid them. The first one is pretty slide syndrome. If you go on Google and search PowerPoint templates, you'll get all sorts of things that look like this. Now, they're pretty, but they're not really organized to communicate information. There's nothing wrong with a pretty slide, of course. It's really just that people start with things that look nice instead of starting with the message. So what I teach people is start with the message, the ideas, the insights, using the consulting skills I teach on this channel, and then figure out the best way to show it, whether it's a chart, table, PowerPoint slide, or sometimes you don't even need a PowerPoint slide. But this is not what most people do. Most people pull up the standard PowerPoint slide. It looks like this, right? We've all seen this. This is the default. This is why there's not really any problem with PowerPoint itself. It's just that people don't think past the default. When I'm thinking about the best way to show information, I'm seeing that whole rectangle as a way where I can build on the ideas and communicate something clearly. This is actually why I created the PowerPoint templates that I sell on my website, because I wanted to create stuff that people actually use. What are the slides I use in my freelance work and used in my time as a strategy consultant? And the key principle in all of this is, what are we trying to say? What is the so what of a slide? That is what you're trying to convey. The second pitfall is information soup. Many of you have probably seen slides like this. So much information. Why is so much here? Often people want to do this because they want to prove, hey, I did a lot of work. I did a lot of analysis. Here's all the information. It feels like it should be impressive to show that, right? But often these are just what people call eye charts. Eye charts are the things you have to scrunch your forehead and look at and try to figure out what is going on. Often when I'm coaching executives and leaders in doing better presentations, I'll just ask them, what are you trying to say? They'll quickly then tell me, oh, I'm just trying to show that profitability went up. And my response is usually, well, why didn't you actually just show that, right? So here's a quick example of a table looking at some made up data on food trucks by city. As you can see, the table's fine. It's not super hard to read. You can read the headings. It's clean, it's organized, but let's see if we can improve it. First, we can do things like bolding the first line. Okay, now we know that we're supposed to look at Portland. Now, how about we add some color? A little better, right? Really zeroes you in on what you're supposed to be looking at. But do we even need all this? What are we trying to say? What if we get rid of most of the columns and just put the overall score? Now this is starting to look a little nicer. And then finally, do we need a table at all? What if we just show it in columns and bold the Portland one? Now this one's really powerful, right? And the title tells us what to think at top. So how can you move past information soup to information that you actually want the person to take away? Don't make them dig through a whole bowl of soup to find one small thing you're trying to give them. Fluffy language is the third pitfall. And what I like to remind people is that fluffy is for teddy bears and cute pets, rather than the language we use to communicate. Let's start with an example. Check out this statement. Acme has impressive growth this year, doing well compared to its competitors. What do you notice? As you can see, the words impressive and doing well don't really tell us anything. They don't give us context. I like to poll people, and you can actually try this. Pause the video and comment below. What does impressive growth mean to you? When I ask people this, I get a really wide range of answers. Now compare it to this. Acme had 10% top line growth, beating its main competitor who only grew 2%. That's better, right? We're clearly telling people what impressive growth actually is. A second example, often to improve on fluffy language, it really is an iterative approach. And the thing I loved about consulting is we would just go back and forth on these things over and over and over again. I love that because I found over and over again, it was how I got to the best ideas. For example, we might have something like we had strong performance this year. We might then go to we had 10% growth this year, getting a little better. But what are we really trying to say? We might talk with the team and say, actually, we're not focused on top line growth. We want to share info about profitability. We might then say we grew the profitability of our alpha product line by 10% this year, improving profitability for the first time in 5 years. Now with that, we're getting more specific. And this can be an antidote to fluffy language, getting more specific about what you're saying. So in your next presentation, remember to avoid these pitfalls. Pretty slides are fine, but start with the message first. Avoid information soup, give people what they actually want and what you want to communicate to them. And 3, fluffy is for cute little pets and teddy bears, not for what you're trying to communicate. Stay away from fluffy language, be direct, concrete, and specific. If you want to learn more tips like this and go into much more depth, you can explore my course, Think Like a Strategy Consultant, which you can find links below. I also sell templates, which help you avoid some of these mistakes and give you templates that consultants actually use. Now, consultants are huge nerds trying to communicate information, so their templates are often not pretty first. They're often communication and ideas first, but also I do try to make the design pretty good.